In a world where the it thing is always changing, sometimes you need a tour guide or two to help you find your way to pop culture's paradise. If you find yourself reminiscing or in need of a good recommendation, these two have you covered. And now, here's your hosts, Joey and Jeff.
Welcome to Pop Culture Paradise. My name's Jeff. His name's Joe. And I don't know how he talked me into this.
Well, I figured the internet needed another podcast, so why not, right?
Yeah, if there wasn't enough already. What are we getting into today?
Well, since it's the pilot, I figured the audience should probably know, a little bit about ourselves, what we want the podcast to be. The fact that we have a challenge going into this episode that you sent out to me. And, actually, the first thing I want them to know about is... well, your wall is bare, okay? So...
yes.
I heard that you went to a wrestling show this weekend, and you got yourself some stuff.
I did. Here in Nashville, Tennessee, I went to the Overdrive Wrestling Show at the historic Nashville Fairgrounds. It was actually a really good show. I got to meet Jeff Jarrett. But while I was there, they had out, all kinds of, old-school Jakks Bone Crunchers and just different action figures. And I caught the itch super bad. So bad, in fact, that the very next day, I went to one of my, favorite retro shops, The Great Escape, and I picked up maybe, 15 or 20, Jakks Bone Crunchers from, 1996. So maybe I just popped these up all on the wall.
You know what? That might have to be what you have to do here, because... well, first of all, Jeff Jarrett, was he great?
Oh, man. Double J. It's J-E-double-F.
Because he says it, ain't I great? So, was he?
Jeff Jarrett was actually really cool. He liked my NWO jacket, which was cool.
I mean, he was a member.
He also liked that my name was Jeff, because it was easy for him to sign. So that was cool.
Nice. And then you also told me that you met Tommy Dreamer and Terry Runnels.
You're going to make me talk about that.
Well, I mean, it's not every day that you meet Tommy.
Yeah, so I met Tommy Dreamer and Terry. Terry was super sweet. She's actually the commissioner of the Overdrive Pro Wrestling here in Nashville. And Tommy multiple times tells me, I just do what she tells me, bro. And
That's not very hardcore.
All I could think about is how Bubba Ray would be like, he's the fat martyr. That's all I could think about. So yeah, essentially it cost me more for a Tommy Dreamer photo and autograph than it did for WWE Hall of Famer Jeff Jarrett. So that was my weekend. How was yours?
Well, I didn't get to hang out with Jeff Jarrett or Tommy Dreamer. But then again, I didn't have to feed him, so win-win. Mine, I basically spent from sunup to sundown playing Spider-Man PS4. So this is the first night I've taken a break from the thing. It'd be like, all right, Doc Ock has this thing that's going to destroy half the city block. Oh, by the way, Harold lost his pigeons. Can you go miles and miles slinging your webs, grabbing these things?
That sounds fun. I don't want to cut you off, but are you noticing how the face focus on your camera keeps focusing your face to the Ultimate Warrior in your back left? It's focusing on his face right now.
Well, I mean, look at him. He's just so beautiful.
The whole time you're explaining Spider-Man to me, it's like Ultimate Warrior was talking to me.
Let me tell you about Spider-Man. Hogan, do you have what it takes to web grapple? Do you know what it's like to not trust Doc Ock? To wrestle with Mr. Negative? No. Do you know what it's like, Ramsey?
You're a dead man, Ramsey.
You're a dead man, Ramsey.
Back on topic here. Since your wall is bare, unlike mine, and if it's having trouble with the Ultimate Warrior face, it's definitely going to have trouble with all these faces.
Yeah.
But I think we might need to put some stuff behind you.
Are you issuing a challenge to me?
Yeah, I think the audience needs to know how you scratch that itch. Which, if you don't know, is a major Wrestling Brothers podcast thing. Because now, because of Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins, both of us are back in this toy thing again. which I didn't really need another reason why being back in this thing.
I completely blame those guys and I blame you while I'm at it, matter of fact, because I wouldn't have even thought about any of that stuff if you weren't like, hey, you should listen to Zack Ryder's podcast. Like, they talk about a lot of the stuff we did when we were younger.
We got the footage, too. So, we're definitely doing an episode on our action figure pay-per-views, which we would spend, 3 days in a row doing.
Oh, yeah.
And they were elaborate storylines that would go on for quite a while.
Yeah, we even ruined one of your dad's cameras with cough syrup because there was a bloodbath from Gangrel.
There was also, during that same pay-per-view, quote-unquote, we had an uppercut to the Godfather action figure, and its head goes flying off. So I don't even know how you kayfabe that.
No, you don't. But anyway, to answer your question, man, at Great Escape, I was able to find some, really cool stuff. Like, a lot of the singles of the Bone Crunchers were, $3 a piece. Now, I'm in that store sweating because I'm about to drop some loot, right? But I needed to justify it. So I was like, all right, who's a friend I can call that will tell me that this is a good idea? I called you right away because I knew you would tell me that it was fine to buy this stuff.
You don't have to get me to push towards buying something stupid. I bought a Ghostbusters trap and a Ghostbusters backpack, and I'm pretty sure I spent $100+ at the Spirit of Halloween. I had the
That's
Spirit.
Ridiculous.
It's bad.
I mean, I have them right here. Want me to dig them out?
Yes, we're gonna have to show the audience your haul, and it did get retweeted by the Major Wrestling Brothers podcast. At this point, we've now become kind of marks, and Jeff especially. He is definitely a mark because he's got Mark Marrow and Mark Henry. But now we're super marks of the Wrestling Brothers podcast, and, well, if anything's figure-related, I send it to them, and you know what? They're pretty amazing about responding. So, what are you going to do?
But what are you gonna do, brother, when your stuffed animal runs wild on you?
Okay, my Hogan just turned into Vince McMahon.
Hulk Hogan, we coming for you. All right, so I dug out the haul here. Hold on.
All right. And also, I also got retweeted because I told him I had to scratch the figure itch, and this came in the mail.
What did you get? Yo, is that one of the ones that that shakes?
No, Alex Wright was not a vibrator. That was terrible. Why? Alex Wright. Well, actually, he kind of looks like he would be. Let's get a shot. Look at his face. Look at his face.
Hey man, here's Alex Wright, the German.
So one of the things that I liked the most about the haul was this 99-cent beanbag brawler of Kevin Nash.
All right, the audience has to see this because I have to point out his hair. Look at his hair.
Hold on.
It is a matted mess.
But he's big sexy. Now,
sure.
Also in there, I grabbed these for you, actually.
All right. So he ended up texting me, and he's like, so would you want this? Yes. For $1, I definitely want this.
WCW Nitro Street Rods. It's like a battle pack. One is Booker T versus Bret Hart, and the other is Chris Jericho versus Big Papa Pump.
And you know how often on WCW Nitro, Big Papa Pump was street racing.
Yeah, I don't know, but there's some pretty cool detail to the cars and stuff. I'm kind of jealous that these are yours. But yeah, here's a random Ken Shamrock Bendham, but I mean there isn't really anything special to talk about that. Now
we're gonna talk about the Bendhams. I got Bendhams on this wall here too.
All right, getting into the haul. You want me to go EC Dub first?
Oh well, first we have to point out I also had you pick up $1 Ryan Leaf because I collect Ryan Leaf stuff.
I thought I was gonna be able to keep that in the bag this episode.
Oh,
But
no,
yeah.
no, we're letting it all out. The Great Escape was his career.
While I was at the wrestling show Saturday at the fairgrounds in Nashville, I picked up this Bubba Ray Dudley for $5. And I thought it was pretty sweet. It has all the different ECW collectors on the back. But then while I was out at the Great Escape on Sunday, I found his tag team partner, Devon Dudley. I mean, you can't just have one of the Dudley boys. You got to have multiple Dudley boys, right?
You got to testify to great deals. Absolutely. I mean, it's kind of like fate that all of a sudden you find one ECW figure and then the other ECW figure you find is the other Dudley. I mean, that's, what is it, 1 in 8 possibility?
Well, it could have been Big Dick Dudley that I found.
If you were finding Big Dick at the wrestling show, you were paying for something way different.
All right, so yeah, this is 1998 Jakks Pacific. This is a Bone Cruncher. This is Mark Henry, and again, I scored this guy for $3. $3.
Which, like, if you take into inflation and it's 20 years old and new old stock, which is a term I know from American Pickers, basically you got a $3 discount for waiting 20 years.
Yeah, what sense does that make, right? That's so bizarre.
It's like somebody kept it to make money, but then they completely missed out on making any kind of profit.
So this one's from 1997. This was the Mark Marrow. Again, this was $2.99. Mark Marrow. This is the WWF Superstars line, Bone Cruncher. Also, of course, you have to have the Stone Cold Steve Austin, right?
Hey, the original Stone Cold there.
Yeah, this is
No frills. You remember the commercial? How's it going, Vince?
Yeah, I thought, and he, like, Austin had his figure, like, tucked in his back pocket.
Which is what Stone Cold always used to do, have his figure in his back pocket.
How's it going, Vince? You little punk. Hey, wait just a minute. Oh, no.
Yeah. And for some reason, I always liked this Slammers 2 Karate Chop Kane. Just because it's sweet to karate chop.
Which is a shame that they never made the Milton Bradley Karate Fighters WWE versions. That would have been a good crossover.
Oh yeah, and here's one that I actually picked up for you as well, because there were 2 Brian Pillmans that were there, and I thought I might as well pick these up, right? But it's funny, your figure actually cost $3.99. Mine was $2.99. Just so you know.
I got that. I got those pricey Brian Pillman figures. Yeah. It's costing you one thing off the dollar menu.
And then we jump into the Signature 4 Series, Survivor Series. This one says it's the last of the bone crunching action, and this one is obviously the People's Champion, The Rock. All right, so here we have King of the Ring, Mankind. One of the things that I mentioned to Joe was, like, when we were kids, say you could only get one figure, right? Like, you would kind of look at, first off, which guy you wanted, right? But then, like, one of the key things was how many accessories it came with. And this Foley comes with 3. You get the tire, you get the mask, and you get the sock. And I think that's kind of sweet.
Yeah. Well, then you also had the Marks Champ.
He was just the Steve Austin from the Bad Boy set, but we drew a bunch of tattoos on his arm.
Why was he the Marks Champ? Was he the champ of Marks, like Marks Showplace, or was he the champ of Marks, like just fans?
I was under the impression he was the champion of the strip club.
Oh, I didn't know that they had battlegrounds. Actually, the first time, one of the earliest memories I have of Jeff is we were sitting in class, 6th grade. And
King Middle, baby.
Yeah, it's right before the classes start that day. And he goes, guess where I was this morning? And I'm like, I have no idea. It's like 6:45 or something. Or 7:45. And I'm like,
do you want to tell it or should I tell it?
Where would you have been? So he hands over a Polaroid at the time, which I was actually kind of impressed because I always thought Polaroids were so cool because you didn't have to wait for film to develop.
Yeah.
And it's him in a ring. And I'm like, all right, where was there a ring? Where was the ring?
All right, so when I was a kid, my father, he was like the maintenance manager at the strip club in our hometown. So he had convinced the owner to buy a Foxy boxing ring. And my dad never half-asses anything. So he like went all out like crazy. He put smoke machines under it, laser lights and everything. And early morning, I remember I had stayed with him that weekend. So Monday he had to drop me off at school, but he had to go into work early. And he's like, well, I got to bring you with me. So just like he brings me into the strip club. Mind you, they're not open because that would be illegal, right? But it does turn out the Topless Donut shop was open downstairs, and I kind of snuck my way down to there. But he goes, hey, do you want to come out and like get into the ring? So my dad brings down the lights, turns on the fog, hits the Undertaker's theme music, gong. And I like walked out to the ring. I was like, hey, you got to get a picture so I can show Joey. He'll never believe it.
Well, I believed it.
I thought I was the king of the ring, and so did Steve Austin. I got him for $3 as well. Actually, we're gonna go into the grudge match. This is one that you convinced me to get. I almost passed up. It's Triple H versus Owen Hart, Slammy Award-winning Owen Hart.
Which
is
to me, I think would have
cool.
been like the best one of the set. So I'm kind of surprised that he's like, should I get this? I'm like, you're about to buy the Blackjacks. Sorry if I ruined your next one out, but you're about to buy the Blackjacks and the Godwins and stuff like that. I'm like, why would you not get Owen Hart in box?
Yeah. All right, so my next one is Luna versus Sable. Joe can tell you how big of a Sable fan I was. Like, just like many of us in the Attitude Era, I thought she was the sexiest thing of all time.
I'm Team Sunny. Team Sunny all day.
Right?
But Jeff also arrived at school one day rocking a gigantic oversized Sable Bomb shirt.
38 special, right?
Yeah, and I remember everybody being like, that's a girl's shirt. And he's like, no, it's Sable.
No.
It's for guys.
Yep.
But they would
38 special.
They didn't let that one go as much. Like an NWO shirt was fine, but Sable Bomb was just like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Well, here we have Blackjack Bradshaw and Blackjack Wyndham, the new Blackjacks. And Joe, what's the rule when you put the new in front of anything?
It's awful. It's always awful.
And that's why nobody bought this.
Well, you remember the famous Mankind story there of him getting his kid the new Blackjack figures and Dewey being like, doesn't Santa know that I hate the new Blackjacks?
I never heard that one.
Yeah, I think it's in his first book.
All right, here we have the Too Tough Series 1, Chains and 8-Ball, the DOA. And you were a big fan of Chains in our Fed that we had.
Yeah, so in our Fed, Chains was just like comic relief. There was Chaz and Ranger Joe. Chaz is Headbanger Mosh with a wacky personality now.
Yeah.
And Ranger Joe is Grant from the Grant
Jurassic
figure
Park.
from Jurassic Park. But in our Fed, he's a midget who's also Vince McMahon's long-lost biological son before they did Hornswoggle.
Yep.
And also, he's many things. I think a future podcast we will explain the whole story of Chaz and Ranger Joe.
And one person called in, and by popular demand, for our interview segment, I think we'll design this office again. Ranger Joe, find the most stupidest stuff you can find.
You mean like Al?
I mean, not like Al.
All right, I'll be right back.
All right, wish me luck.
I will. But anyway, they had a bunch of hangers-on, and Chains also became like a weirdo. So he had way more personality than the actual Chains probably ever did.
Yeah, speaking of personality, we have Phineas I. Godwin and Henry O. Godwin.
Pig and hog.
Yep. Funny story about these guys. My dad met them at the strip club when I was a kid. Because that's where they would all go after the shows. And I remember my dad showed me one time a photo of him, Undertaker, and both Godwins. And I was like, you got to meet the Undertaker, you know?
He got to meet the Undertaker with a raging hard-on, probably.
Yeah. All right, and the last one here is Kane versus Corporate Mankind. This one comes with a mask as well. This one I actually got at the wrestling show that I went to over the weekend that I was like eyeballing all night, and eventually I was like, all right, it's the end of the show. It's still here. I got to get it. So, yeah, that was my haul. But, yeah, what do you think? Would some of these guys look good back here if I were to, like, you know, hang them up?
I don't know. Toys behind you. I don't know. Toys.
Are you serious?
I don't know. What do I think of toys? Can't. Yeah, I think we're going to have to do it. We're going to have toys behind you.
Now, the question, Joe, I've been getting some peer pressure on Twitter to let them breathe.
Some guy. He has to tell you to let him breathe, and he's got his gifts, and he's pressuring. Not allowing it. He completely is not understanding what we're trying to do with this podcast, because as this goes on, Jeff's going to build the back of his wall up here to look as nice and as pretty as mine.
Joe, what's like a purchase you made that you almost immediately regretted after, as far as some of your like pop culture stuff?
You know, there's been a few times where I don't regret it, but it always feels weird when you're buying a toy intended for a girl.
Wait, all right, explain.
I have New Kids on the Block dolls. I have Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I kept my sister's NSYNC dolls.
Yeah, well, NSYNC they're legends.
When I was at a yard sale, I got this Michael Jackson doll. So it's kind of like, dude, you have dolls.
You do.
And then for a future project, and I just did an unboxing video of this.
Yeah.
I dropped kind of stupid money on a talking Alf. But it's going towards a video, so I can justify it.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, that's the thing. Like, being an adult, it's like, oh, yeah, like, this stuff makes me feel good. Like, this reminds me of when I was a kid. And then it's like, damn it, I haven't eaten in 2 days. But I have this huge box full of bone crunchers in my closet. That's going to count for something, right?
Well, I mean...
It's the balance.
Yes, and then there's the figures that, like, you wanted, but you never got. Like, I was on this chase forever for the Zach Morris doll, because we had all the other ones, me and my sister. Never could get the Zach Morris, and it was like this elusive thing that the one time my mom saw it, she put it to his side, and then came back later to come get it after she changed her mind. Never saw it.
Gone.
And pre-eBay, gone.
Yeah.
You never see it again.
You just brought up an interesting point about eBay. I mean, for me, I used to do that a lot. Like, I would grab stuff off Amazon or off eBay, but lately, like you and I have been talking about, just like privately, it's all about like the find. It's all about like going out and digging to find this cool stuff, because that's like part of the journey, right?
At this point, like, I think I've gotten most of the stuff that I've wanted to get.
Right.
And now I'm kind of like picking up additional things that I either had, and it wasn't so great that I had to immediately get it back, but now I'm like, well, I need that next thing. Our second part of our show is what I like to call...
All right, but yeah, the podcast isn't solely about action figures. It just happened to happen like yesterday, so...
Exactly. It's kind of going to be a mixture of all things.
Yeah.
And now, what we wanted to do is each time we talk on the phone, Jeff and I, one of us is recommending something, and you know with your friends, like, you recommend something, then you want to check back in, and they're like, nah, I haven't seen it. Sorry, man.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
I didn't watch it yet, no.
And I figured, why not hold each other accountable for the thing that we recommend? So each week we're going to challenge each other to watch a video, or hear an album, or play this game, and then have our own thoughts about it. Or maybe we have a weird topic.
Or I'm gonna challenge you to find something for me.
So this week, Jeff sent me a video called Sounds Only 90s Kids Remember, because nothing wins me over more than remembering the 90s. I'm that guy. I really am.
Nothing wrong with that.
We're gonna start with our first sound. Are you ready?
I got it right here, yep.
I said, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Here is our first sound.
Yeah, so that first sound, that's like Mario getting a coin.
Yeah, so what's your first time with Mario?
Oh,
Was he gentle?
That's a good one. That is a good one. I mean, so the original NES came out the year we were born, right? 86?
84, 85, somewhere in that window. Like, there's like this whole complicated backstory where it was like at a New York trade show, and then they had to import it over from Japan. But right around 86 I think is when America got it.
Yeah, you see, like I think my earliest memories of the Nintendo were at like one of my cousin's houses on my dad's side, but I don't distinctly remember Mario. I don't really remember playing Mario much on the original Nintendo. I do remember playing it on the Super Nintendo. But obviously, as I got older, I mean, I would still have that system, so I would play it. But I didn't necessarily like have like a first, oh my god, Mario experience, you know?
Yeah, so like with me, my dad had the Intellivision, and then he picked up the NES, and I remember it from like 3 to 5, and there's pictures of me with the original NES, and There's a picture of me playing Ninja Turtles 3 in the background, or the second one.
Which one is the Turtles in Time?
That's 4 for Super Nintendo.
Yeah, that game is epic.
And then there's another photo of the original Mario 3 Happy Meal toys of me like playing and building elaborate sets with those things.
Wow.
And like I had the 3-pack and the 2-pack versions of Mario Duck Hunt and Soccer, I think it was the third one on the one. Oh no, Track and Field. Track and Field was the one. And like I would spend hours playing these things. My grandmother had it down in the basement, and like she had her own NES for me to be able to play over at her house also.
Simpler times, bro. Simpler times.
So simple. Love me some Mario. All right, we're gonna go into this next one here.
What do we got? I know. All right, I know that. That's the Super Mario World from Super Nintendo.
All right, so what was your first Super Mario World?
All right, what first thing that comes to mind for me is riding around on Yoshi's back. He was like the coolest character. Like he was cooler than Mario to me.
I completely agree. Like even nowadays, if I buy anything Mario, I tend to just go to Yoshi. Yoshi's my Mario Party character. Yoshi's my kart character.
Yeah, I was gonna say Super Mario Kart.
And then when my nephew was born, like the very first thing I got him was a gigantic Yoshi stuffed animal. So
that's cool.
But I remember having my aunt had the Super Nintendo, and she convinced me to spend money to use that money to put towards the Super Nintendo, and Super Mario World and Super Mario All-Stars was like a free game with it.
Oh wow.
And I would spend so much time, but I could never get past the like World 4 or something. Where you have
I've
to,
never
like,
beaten it either.
We had to hop from well, eventually I got it for Game Boy Advanced, and it was like Super Mario World 4 or whatever was what they called it on Game Boy Advanced. And then I actually beat it on my Seattle trip when I was like 14, 15, and I bought the strategy guide, which I think I still have.
Cheater.
Well, actually, yes, because my cousin also had to beat one of the levels for me, because I'm just like, I hate this level. Those levels, you know those levels in games where you're like, I hate this one?
Yeah, and there's like one of those levels with Sonic that I get that way with, too.
Is it the oil levels there?
Yeah, when all that like liquid stuff comes all over it, like, yeah, it's too much. The Simpsons. That's like one of your all times, man. Like I distinctly associate that show with you.
Oh, I used to watch it all the time when it first went to syndication from like seasons 3 to 10. So good. I would watch it pretty much every single day here, and
yeah,
nowadays it's just so unwatchable. I can't even deal with it anymore.
Eat my shorts. Don't lay a finger on my butterfinger. Like those are the biggest things that I remember from The Simpsons.
The one that I always associate with The Simpsons is there's an episode where they have to wear school uniforms, and anytime my sister and I see like a nerdy kid, we call them wiener children. Based on that episode.
Oh, I gotta go. My damn wiener kids are listening.
I have no idea what that is.
That's the old school Mac sound.
I never had it.
Hall School used to have these computers there. The old computer lab when I was in elementary school.
But then again, you can't expect that I had an original Macintosh when my first internet was a Sega Dreamcast. It was Log On America.
That's true, and we're gonna have to go into that story someday.
Yeah, that can't go untold. Sega! Now we're talking. Now we are talking. That was like my first system, and like one of the ones that I hold closest to my heart because that's the one that my mom got me. And Sonic was awesome. Of course, Mortal Kombat was the craze at that point, and like all the blood on Sega. And,
oh, you're a Mortal Kombat kid.
Yeah, Sega just had such a great campaign that I just ate up as a kid. Nintendo don't. You know, Sega does what Nintendo don't.
But there's such a divide though between the Street Fighter and the Mortal Kombat kids, because I was a Street Fighter guy. Everything about me was Street Fighter. I went as Halloween as Street Fighter. I went as Guile. Well, technically, I'm dressed as Ken in this photo, but I'm wearing a Guile mask. Yeah,
I just think for most folks, the Sega was a little more affordable, and their campaign was great. So it was a super popular system. Like Sega, even to this day, like I still play like Streets of Rage like all the time.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I remember like the first thing like you and I bonded over was we were both like, "Oh, you're into Sega? I have a Sega." And then like you gave me a couple of your Sega games way back before like you rebought all Sega stuff.
Yeah.
So my copy of Beach Surfer Dude and then I think Tasmania were from you.
You're welcome.
So skip it, to run, to jump, to hop.
Yes. I don't know that I had one of these, but I know my sister did for sure, a Skip It.
So did mine.
I was really good at that thing.
Really? Because I think I was average with it, but the worst thing about that thing is that if it built up any kind of momentum, it would bang off the pavement, pop up, and smack you at full speed in your ankle.
Well, you weren't always the most, like, coordinated kid either.
No, but that thing was just...
If it hit you, it could break an ankle for sure.
That thing was brutal on you. And especially because, like, you'd be a target for everybody else also. So you'd need, like, this big area around you to actually use the thing properly. And everybody else would be like, oh, Jesus, what is this thing coming around and around?
That's awesome.
And then, like... Did you ever get it with a point where it just, like, stopped counting?
Yeah, but you were, like, going for the actual, like, record in your house, but it stopped working.
Yeah.
And you didn't know when, so you're like, that's just going to open up some wounds.
Welcome. You've got mail.
Jeez, dude.
Uh-oh.
This is really hurting my ears already.
Why did somebody decide that this was, like, the great sound to... Ah!
The thing was, with mine, it was so bad, it would go, welcome, you've got goodbye. It would just, every time, welcome, you've got goodbye. Just kick me right off, bro.
Yes, and then I remember half the time, like, you pick up, if somebody picked up the phone while it was still dialing, after it took, like, minutes to sign in, and you'd be like, why? I've been sitting here 6 minutes, and you picked up the phone? I didn't know.
Yeah.
Dude,
that sound right there, I mean, as terrible as it was, it just goes to show that, like, our generation is the last one that remembers what life was like before the internet.
Yeah, like that sound that is almost like the sound of generations changing.
Yeah, and you gotta think
that space-time continuum tearing right there in audio form.
Absolutely.
Nickelodeon. And that always made me, like, wherever I was at, like, run right into the living room.
Oh yeah.
And like they'd usually air that right before they came back from commercials too.
Yep.
So you'd be like, all right, I gotta immediately get right back in the room here, because this stuff, like, either you taped it or you had to wait for it to re-air. So like you couldn't just be like, oh well, I'll catch the next 5 minutes tomorrow when it's on Hulu.
Yeah. And you might laugh at me, but this gives me, like, post-traumatic stress because when I was a kid, the Disney movie Fantasia scared the crap out of me.
Well, then I probably shouldn't show you this picture of me at Disney World dressed as Fantasia.
Please don't.
Oh, I'm showing it to you when I find it.
I don't know what it was. It was just so dark, and I don't know. It was weird. But I'm fascinated by it, though.
But how about that music, though?
Yeah. That's awesome.
See, I always associate that with those sing-along tapes. Did you ever have those sing-along tapes?
Bulbasaur, Charmander, Squirtle, Tim Allen.
I like how that just like, Pokemon, Tim Allen.
Yeah, dude.
It's time to kick ass and chew bubble gum, and I'm all out of gum.
Duke Nukem, I never played those games.
Oh, Duke Nukem was awesome. Dustin and I would my cousin, so you know you're getting let in on these conversations, but he had Duke Nukem on his computer, and I thought it was like the coolest thing ever because him and I would spend hours and hours playing Doom 2 or Rise of the Triad. So like another first-person shooter game that was actually really fun, and Duke Nukem is like a badass. And he's gonna be played by John Cena.
That's nice. I remember watching people play the game and thinking it was really cool. Same with that one and Doom. Like those were always like really cool to watch people play.
Yeah, well, it's sort of like that class divide at that time, though, too, because these are all computer games, and you're hitting 94, 95, and you didn't have one till what, till 2000, right?
Yeah. Yes, dude. Go Power Rangers for life, dude.
Yeah, I mean, that sound is just iconic, and we could probably go on, like, an hour, 2 hours talking about Power Rangers, but there's a million episodes if we do this right, so let's not blow our Power Ranger wad.
at some point we gotta like distinctly break down the green candle, which is still like one of the coolest things.
If that's not gonna be one of your challenges, that's gonna be one of mine. We'll find like National Candle Day or something, and in honor of National Candle Day, if there's one of those, there probably is.
It's me, Mario.
Super Mario 64, as great as the game was, I hated it. I couldn't deal with the like 3D of it. I couldn't find out where I was going. It wasn't for me.
Oh, see, I loved it, but I could totally see how you'd hate it because, like most 3D World games, I can't get into because I'm like, there's too much to do and too much like camera angles, and it gets overwhelming. And I'm just like, just keep it 2D. Like, when Crash Bandicoot started getting really 3D, I was done.
Too much, right?
I was like, I love you, Bandicoot, but no. Please, no.
You're an idiot.
Ren and Stimpy, interesting one, because that was a popular show, but I don't really remember it being all that great.
You know what's funny? I don't either. I remember, like, when it was on, it was one of the first shows I actively remember hating. And, like, in that time period, I guess I'm getting more nostalgic for it as I've gotten older. And, like, my mom picked up, because I do Christmas pop culture stuff, and there's, like, Ren and Stimpy Christmas theme stuff, and I had her get rid of it, and I'm kind of kicking myself for that. But when it was on, I was just like, I don't really like this.
Yeah. It certainly wasn't Rugrats, that's for sure. I don't really have any story about this. I don't know if you do.
About Windows 95?
Yeah.
Something about that sound gives me post-traumatic stress. It always makes me think of somebody just yelling, "Turn off the computer properly! Don't hold down the power! It takes 10 extra seconds to shut it down!" Okay, fine. Because if you don't shut it down properly, the entire computer is gonna blow up.
Yeah. Y2K all over again. All right, yeah, this was played after Nickelodeon cartoons, right?
Yeah, especially Rugrats.
Yeah, Rugrats. That's exactly where I remember that from. Speaking of which, did you know that the entire run of Rugrats is on Hulu now?
I didn't, actually.
Which just so happens to be today's... I'm just kidding.
It's National Reptar
sweet, right?
Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, should I throw out my orange clamshell tapes there?
Absolutely.
I don't know. They're like the OG episodes, even though I've got them all on a hard drive.
All right, Joe, on 3, what's your favorite Disney animated film? 1, 2, 3. Aladdin.
Aladdin. I was going to say Goofy movie, but then when you said Aladdin, I'm like, no, never mind. It's always Aladdin.
Yeah.
If you see my action figure collection, I'm an Aladdin fanboy.
Totally. Got Bugs Bunny right there, Warner Brothers. For some reason, the first thing that comes to my mind with that is Little Giants, the movie.
You know what? It would be Little Giants, but the first thing that popped into my mind was Tiny Toons, How I Spent My Summer Vacation.
I have no idea what that is.
Did you not watch Tiny Toons?
No, I knew what it was, but I don't know this summer vacation thing.
It was like a mini movie that they aired there. And, like, it was what all the characters did when they were away from Acme Acres. And that's the one where, like, Plucky goes road tripping with Hampton's family.
I don't know who that is.
Hampton Pig and Plucky Duck?
Oh, yeah, but for some reason I'm thinking of Animaniacs now.
Oh. Boo.
They were awesome. I like those guys.
Animaniacs isn't of Tiny Toons, and I'll fight anybody that says it is.
Sony PlayStation. Dude, I know that system from you. Like, straight up from you.
Did you not have a PlayStation, did you?
No, I mean...
You could have had mine when Tim fixed it. Tim's Jeff's stepdad there.
Oh, yeah.
And when my first PlayStation died, Tim was like, I can fix that. And I'm like, well, I don't got $15, and also I'm grounded at the current time, so I don't think I'm going to get any money coming in. And I just gotten WCW Backstage Assault, and I was dying to play it. I don't know why. It's terrible.
Yeah.
He put it in there, and I think there was like a missing bead in the spinner part, and all I know is that sound is the greatest sound ever. It just makes me think of playing an awesome game.
Yeah, Tim was awesome at stuff like that. People would even give him systems and stuff that didn't work, and within 10, 15 minutes he had them up and operational.
Well, the one thing I really remembered early about Tim was that there'd be big trash day, and he'd go out scoping out every big screen TV he could find.
Electronics, yep.
And one time I came back to Jeff's place, and there was this gigantic friggin' TV that must have weighed 70 pounds and take out the entire side of the room.
Yep.
And the picture was not good, but it was huge, and it was before everything was super clear, so it wasn't that bad.
But yeah, dude. Well, Tim had all the cool stuff.
Tim had all the burned rap CDs.
Yeah. And Tim was the one that actually got me into hip-hop.
Crossfire!
Dude, did you have this, Crossfire?
No, but I wish I did.
I don't think I ever did either. I think that was the game that every kid wanted, and no parents bought it for them.
Well, it seems like one of those games where as soon as you buy it, you lose all the pieces. And I remember this thing would always air during WCW Saturday night on TBS. Yeah. And it'd be Crossfire, modern rock ballads where a guy jumps out of the plane to Can You Take Me Higher?
Monster Ballads. 35 powerful hits on 2 CDs and 2 cassettes. It's awesome!
Weird memory.
I just remember, because I always thought, all right, you're selling modern rock ballads, but why is this guy skydiving?
Why wouldn't he be?
And then Pizza Bagel.
Pizza in the morning, pizza in the evening, pizza at supper time. When pizza's on a bagel, you can eat pizza anytime.
Pizza Bagel Bites.
Basically, at my funeral, I'm just gonna request to play for everybody to be playing Crossfire in my memory, eating pizza bagels.
That's well. Hey, maybe we'll have to do that. Dude, AOL Instant Messenger. Go back. That warn button. That warn button when somebody would like say something that would offend you,
and then you get another warning.
Warn them.
10%, 20%, like 35, 50, 75, and then you couldn't like text for like as rapid or something like that. And then you'd be like, "Did you block me?" And then you make a burner account, and then you'd have a secondary burner one.
Dude, some of the screen names I had, like Rikishi Fat 202. Like, I was just such a big Rikishi fan.
Weren't we all? Weren't we all?
Yeah, like so many just weird accounts. But I remember, like, the coolest thing about AIM was the away messages. Where it's be like, hey, I'm out right now. Like, I don't know. There was something about the away messages, like.
And then, like, everybody was, like, an early HTML coder, because then you could do, like, the little tags, and it'd be like, specific name, specific time they looked at, and you'd be like, oh my god, are they looking at mine? No.
Yeah, it was weird.
And then, like,
I think.
And then, in some people's profiles, they'd have, like, how well do you know me? Fill out this quiz. You'd be like, what a douche.
I just really liked my first ever cell phone that I bought with my own money was the T-Mobile Sidekick 2. And I just remember AIM being on that and it being the coolest thing of all time.
Oh, yeah. Well, then the one thing I always liked was when you'd sign in and then you'd quickly go, like, private, or what was it? You ghost. So you
invisible, yeah.
Yeah, you go invisible. That's what it was back then.
Yeah.
And you know somebody was on and you just message him and that would go through and they'd be like, I wasn't even on. You'd be like, I just figured. I was taking a stab at it.
Side effects is it may never ever work. I'm watching 8-legged freaks. 8-legged Greeks. You wanna know why I spelled that wrong? Because he's tired.
Yeah, I remember, I think your last screen name was Tommy Jarvis 01.
Shh. I haven't updated.
I think it was. He still got it.
Dude, Tommy Jarvis is the man, okay? He killed Jason.
Yeah.
All right, well, since we've gone a little bit long, but the good thing is you now know a little bit more about myself and Jeff here. And since he already challenged me with a 90s video for me to watch, I'm going to challenge him, since we're in the spirit of Halloween, to decide what's better. The Garfield Halloween special or the Peanuts Halloween special. And then maybe you think it's a blowout? I don't think so. In fact, I will specifically argue for one fat cat if that spoils anything. Also, since you went toy crazy, I've looked around and I've decided to put together a top 10 list of the top 10 toys that creep me the hell out. In honor of Halloween. I don't know. Why not?
I love that idea. That's a good one. Yeah, I'm excited to watch these and then next week debate with you which Halloween special is better.
All right. Well, for Joe, he's Jeff, and this has been the Pop Culture Paradise. I hope you enjoyed your stay.
Hopefully we don't get canceled before next week.